So in order to advance all the way to the end, we'd have to win 4 games in 4 days. And so, there's a lot less sleep involved in that as well. There were situations where we'd have a road trip, and then we'd come back, like 3 a.m., and then the next day at 9 a.m., I'd have an exam.
He's posted, including retweets, over 11,000 posts, which I was like,
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was always about the views and the reach.
welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the first episode of the long-awaited College Creator Podcast, where we discuss the stories of college-age individuals who are bringing their ideas into life and often taking the rather uncomfortable path to do this. And today we have a very special guest, my close friend from college, Yash. How are you doing today, sir? Thank you for coming on.
I'm doing great. I really appreciate you having me on, man.
For sure, for sure. So, how's the college life been now? Wrapping up the last few months?
Yeah, I mean, it's 4 years flew by so fast. It's honestly, it's just been a lot of reflecting recently on the 3 years before this, but it's been a great run. And yeah, like you said, just trying to wrap the last couple months the best way we can.
Nice, man, nice. So, just for the audience to know, Yash is a computer science major at Cal Poly, but more importantly, he's an avid basketball fan and a basketball player as well. So, he's been able to combine these two passions that he has into lots of different basketball endeavors, right? So, that's what we're going to talk about today. We're gonna touch on the three main basketball sort of endeavors he's pursuing. He's been pursuing for quite a while. The first one is his role as the head video coordinator for a men's D1 basketball team, and the second one is his Twitter account where he posts insights about various basketball games uh, and his opinions on these like modern day events going on in the sport of basketball. And the third one is his role as a frequent co-host on the podcast Beyond the Arc. Does that sound right,
Yeah,
Josh?
that was a great intro, and yeah, all accurate. I appreciate that.
For sure, for sure. Okay, but first, before that, we got to start with a very, very important question, and that is, what is your favorite food?
Whew, man, we're already starting off with the heated questions, huh?
Of course,
Okay.
I love
Uh,
food. Come on.
Absolutely, yeah. I gotta put me on the spot, so I had to think a little bit. But I'm a South Indian, so um, you can never go wrong with a good dosa and sambar. I
Oh,
think
I love it.
I think especially coming to college and experiencing campus life, having to cook myself. I think I learned about the value of traditional cuisine, especially South Indian food, and so grown is extremely nostalgic for a good dosa sambar. So I'd say that's it right now.
Hmm. Yeah. Not only a great answer, but he sprinkled in some words of wisdom for those of you coming into college as well. So yeah, I mean, I was just in South India, so had plenty of dosa and sambar, and can attest to its greatness. So
Oh yeah.
yeah. All right, Yash. So now I sort of want to dive into your first endeavor that maybe takes up most of your time. A lot of us at Cal Poly have seen your dedication to this, and that's your role on the Cal Poly men's basketball team, right? So can you first talk about how this opportunity came about? Obviously you were taking your CS classes, probably looking for internships just like the rest of us, but then this is a sort of unique route that you took. So can you tell us a bit about how it came up?
Yeah, of course. Like you mentioned, basketball has been an interest of mine for a long time, and I'd pursued this interest, obviously watching the game and playing the game, but I took it to a different level as well, pursuing it in the analytical side, trying to analyze the game and give my perspective. Social media was the outlet for that, Twitter in particular, as you mentioned. So I'd experience with uh, on the video and the analytics side, uh, pursuing self-driven projects on that end, and so was just looking for ways to contribute with that skill set. And a good friend of mine had or gave me the suggestion to reach out to the Cal Poly men's basketball team and see if they needed any help. Ultimately, was able to upon reaching out, was able to find that they did in fact need help, especially particularly for managers, and so um, ultimately ended up going through the formalities, joining as a student manager, and from there it was or that was in my sophomore year, or sorry, summer of my sophomore year, going into my junior year, and so junior year I started as a student manager, and this past year was able to uh, be the video analytics coordinator. Uh, both unique opportunities, and so it was really cool just being part of a program.
So, can you talk about what your role entailed first as a student manager and then the transition to a video coordinator?
Yeah, I'd say both had their similarities in since being a part of a program, the ultimate goal is to just provide whatever possible to help the team and the program succeed. As a student manager, it was mainly just being at and available to show up to practices and to workouts and being there as a body. So whether that be rebounding for players, wiping up sweat, um, just being an active participant, and what I mean, it's looked at as menial work, but in the context of helping a team and helping a program, it served its purpose. Uh, wiping up sweat. It's something that helps prevent the players from getting injured, which is obviously the utmost importance. And then rebounding for players, passing the ball to them in workouts, being involved in that space. For as a student manager, it started out as a lot of that, being available whenever possible for the players and for the coaches. In doing so, the coaches, I'm extremely grateful, gave me the opportunity to start doing some greater work. They were able to. I was able to sort of tell them about my experience once again on the video analytics side through in my personal projects, and so I was able to help put together scouting reports. It wasn't obviously it wasn't putting the insights, the main insights on reports, but just cutting up stats for the use of opponent scouting, cutting up presentations. Again, it wasn't anything too crazy, but just an opportunity for me to help out the coaches in another way. Towards the end of the season, was grateful enough to get a bump up to head video coordinator, which I joined this year, and as VC, video and analytics. I was able. My main role comprises of anything that involves with game film, and the team uses this game film or footage in a variety of ways, namely for one, opponent scouting. So when preparing for games, having the video footage of the opposing matchups that we're going to play, just to sort of get a sense of their play style for the coaches and for the players to know what they're going up against. So I compile footage of both the opponents and our own team throughout the game for each game and practices. That's the bulk of the work. Just being having that footage ready at the end of games. So if we play a game, having that game ready for the coaches to watch, to prepare for the next game, and then being able to fulfill any video needs. The cool part is I've also been able to get involved with what is it, things beyond that. Grateful to the coaches for doing so, but anything or every little thing that they're involved with, I've been able to get a chance to experience in some kind of way. So I've been able to work on some cool projects that, um, like for example, with that apply my own major and my own skill sets on the analytics side. In the essence, it was always about finding ways to help the team win in any capacity.
Yeah, I mean, I could really tell that through what you just shared, right? A man of so many different hats. Like you, not only are you doing this video editing and coordination for the team, but also serving as helping with scouting, helping the players with whatever they need, the coaches with whatever they need. One other thing I wanted to sort of go back to is what you mentioned at the beginning, right? Which I think that's really great that you're able to have this sort of mindset, right? That you're willing to help the team in any way, and you understood the importance, like even I didn't really consider the importance of wiping sweat, right? Like if a player slips, especially on a slippery basketball court, that could change the season completely, right? So it's great that you're taking that pride in understanding the value of the work you're adding. And that it sort of reminds me of another thing. I watched a Tom Brady interview once, and he was saying how, I think he was a fourth string quarterback on the first NFL team he got drafted to. And so during practices, he would get just one or two throws, a few like reps, while the other quarterbacks were getting plenty of reps because they would be playing, right. And he said even though he only got one or two reps, he would treat those one or two reps like a Super Bowl, fourth quarter play, right. And that sort of mindset is what you described reminded me of, right. So it's great to hear that.
For
So
sure.
um,
Appreciate that.
yeah, and then on the side of the video editing, right? So I'm just curious, like, what does that turnaround typically do look like? Like, you receive the footage, right? You go through all of it, lots of sort of rigorous editing and picking and choosing to do. So, what's the turnaround like on that?
Yeah. So I'll have the footage, or a part of. I think I've maybe glossed over this part talking about it before, but I'll basically be sort of live capturing the footage as the game is going on, and as the game is going on too, like we have a system where we're able to live tag certain parts of the footage. So, for
Mm,
example, if we're looking for something particular during the game, like for example how a player is scoring, or how a particular team is defending us. I'll have those clips tagged, and so either during the game, like at halftime, for example, if the coaches want to reference that, I'll have that ready, that cut up, or like so. For example, like how did this team score on us in this way? I'll have a compilation of that ready for them. And even after the game, that serves its purpose because looking back, a team might see, for example, how the last team defended us and try to apply that own strategy. So just having that reference, or after the game, it is definitely something that will help us prepare for the next game. And so speaking of the turnaround specifically, I'd have to have the footage ready as well as the live coded segments immediately after the game. And then for any edits or any of my own work or insights that I have to derive, whether that be from the game or for something else related to preparation for the next game. It would be as soon as possible. And I'd say that differs whether when we're on road trips or when we're at home. On road games, it's almost like the workflow is almost or the travel, I'd say, makes the workflow a lot easier in the sense that on the bus ride, oftentimes back from games, that's usually the time that all the coaches and myself would be working on putting together edits and driving our analysis. It gives us that downtime that we need to put things together.
mm,
Whereas if it's a home game, it's a little different. We're able to get back home, and usually we don't have the same sense of or same necessity to be as urgent, so to speak, just because we don't have that travel to go to the following game. And so usually just by the next day, as soon as I can, I'll have whatever it is ready that the coaches ask for me. Um, but the thing is, for that's usually what it's like in the regular season. During the conference tournament, it's a unique format, especially as a lower seed. The way it works, just for the those listening at home, um, games are played every single day. So for us, we came in as the 7 seed, and so in order to advance all the way to the end, we'd have to win 4 games in 4 days. And so you can imagine after winning the first game, you'd have what, less than 24 hours before the next game, and so that turnaround's a lot quicker. And as a result, there's a lot less sleep involved in that as well. It's a lot of literally immediately after the game. Obviously, we need to have that footage as always, but the preparation starts from the second we leave the arena. Just being putting together edits, stats, looking forward to the it's a lot of literally immediately after the game. Obviously, we need to have that footage as always. But the preparation starts from the second we leave the arena. Just being putting together edits, stats, looking forward to the next team, studying them. That turnaround is a lot quicker. It's almost a few hours after the game. We need to have the game plan ready for the next game. So that's where it differs, I'd say.
Mhm. Well, that was a lot quicker turnaround than I actually expected. I didn't even realize like live sort of tracking like that was there, but it makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah, I
interesting.
mean, I'd say tech in sports is greatly advanced. I mean, we're this is only at the Division One, the college level. Pro teams, as many of you probably know, they have technology that's on the even on another level. But I think this year I was really able to find out what the pretty cool capabilities of sports technology.
Mhm. Yeah. And you also mentioned, right, like with these intense schedules, right, 4 games in 4 days, there's a lot to juggle there, right? And I personally have seen you like sort of have to dedicate a lot of time to this, and of course that's there. So can you sort of touch on the sacrifices as a college student, a full-time college student in a pretty rigorous major, and then also doing this? So can you touch on the sacrifices in terms of maybe like missing classes, which I know you've had to do, and making up work there, then
Yeah.
maybe potentially friends or other social time, like how has juggling those sacrifices been? I guess.
Right. That's a great question. And going into the season, I think that was the one part that like I was a little timid about, just having to deal with this additional large priority that I now had to sort of incorporate into my day to day. And it wasn't easy at first, but as you mentioned, it took a lot of sacrifices. Maybe the biggest one to or like I think my mentality going in first and foremost was not to compromise anything major. So obviously, even if I would be missing classes, I didn't want to compromise what I'd be learning from the classes and my performance, obviously, and like in the sense of grades I'd get and the material I'd retain. And so even if I would miss classes, again, my classmates, shout out to them, like they were instrumental in sending me notes, whether it be sending notes or giving me heads up on certain deadlines. And professors were also really understanding. Obviously, I need to reach out to them well ahead of time. Even if I did have even if I did have clearance to miss classes, I need to reach out to them well ahead of time and have things done before or after, figure those things out. And a lot of it was self-studying on the road, like on the bus, 6-hour drives. Would need to dedicate time to study and make sure I really retain concepts, because oftentimes there were situations where we'd have a road trip and then we'd come back like 3 a.m. and then the next day at 9 a.m. I'd have an exam. So just staying prepared, staying on top of my things was definitely a major skill that I had to continue to hone this past year. And so like in a sense it was a little difficult to make it work, but I'd say at this point, I'm happy that I wasn't able to compromise my classes or what I've learned, which is great. The social aspect of it was also difficult. That's something I didn't really necessarily anticipate coming in, but it's still guilts me to this day. Like the number of times I had to say no to some of my friends inviting me to certain things. Like it's been tough, obviously. But I think what really helped was I was really able to form a community within the basketball team, whether that be with the players, the coaches, the staff. That made me feel like I was involved, and it didn't give me a sense of loneliness in any kind of way. And I was still able to stay connected with my friends on these road trips. Obviously we have phones, we have messaging capabilities. Like I was able to stay in touch with them, but a lot of plans I was left out of, or I had to leave myself out of, which wasn't easy. But I kind of just had to have like I had to understand like the role I was in, and it just I'd have to make time for those things later on. And so that's why like this quarter with the season over, like I think I'm trying to really use that chance to make up for that lost time, so to speak, trying to hang out with my friends as much as possible. And yeah, I mean, I'd say even with family as well. Like it was, I was accustomed to going home pretty frequently during the school year. That's something I wasn't able to do throughout the season, and like even during breaks, when school isn't in session, we still have games and road trips. Obviously, I was able to go back for parts of breaks, which I was extremely grateful for. But the full, for example, like winter break, the Christmas break, wasn't able to. We were on a road trip during parts of it, and so wasn't that's lost time as well that I usually would have spent going back home, spending time with family. So that was initially a little difficult as well. But I'd say the biggest thing with those sacrifices and going through that experience was the skills I gained in time management and organization. I think I was able to just out of necessity was able to take those to the next level, which I'm confident is going to set me up for success in the future. So there was definitely great things I was able to get out of that.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like time management, discipline, all these other important skills can really only be gained when you're under these sort of high pressure situations, right? Now I want to. So obviously we've touched on your role as head video coordinator for D1 Cal Poly men's basketball team, where like you mentioned, you've also been blending your computer science, data science skills with your passion for basketball. But before even coming to college, you were already doing this, right? With your Twitter account, Mathketball, which is a great name, by the way. And also unrelated, but not only do I have this baseball pot here, but just for you, I've also got a basketball one.
Oh no way! That's sick.
This is for Mathketball.
That's big. You
Yeah,
came prepared. Awesome.
Of course, of course. But yeah, so I think just looking at your Twitter history, right? I think you started this in 2020, late 2020. Just to cover some stats for the audience. So Yash has been pretty much consistently posting on his Twitter account for the past, 4 years, and he's posted, including retweets, over 11,000 posts, which I was like extremely shocked by, extremely surprised.
Right.
With all that consistent posting, providing his basketball insights, honest, well thought out ideas and observations, he's gained over 3.7 k organic followers and tons of impressions. Lots of his tweets have thousands of likes and shares, and yeah, I mean it's all sort of organic stuff that he's done out of his interest for basketball. But some questions here, right? First, how did you decide to sort of publicly start sharing your thoughts, right?
Yeah. Well, I'd say one thing is you mentioned it was 2020, which it was for our during our college application time, but it's also during COVID and quarantine. And so I had a lot of even though we're all busy with school and college applications, there was inherently a lot of free time that I had on my hands. And so it just made sense to me naturally to funnel more of my free time into my already existing interest in basketball. And just I'd say the main thing was I was watching more games and getting more involved into the stuff that happened outside of the game, so like the analysis. And so speaking of influences, that's really when I uncovered the field or the analytical side of the game. Like I didn't realize in years before that that analytics was prominently used within NBA organizations at that point. Like the coaches and NBA coaching staffs that had people on staff whose job was literally to provide an analytical perspective. And so there are names in there, or they're definitely just uncovering that aspect was eye opening to me and implored me to look into it a little more. And even from a fan or perspective of just covering the game, like media, there were a lot of prominent perspectives that really influenced me. So just to give some names, like Kurt Goldsberry, Todd Whitehead, though Jacob Goldstein, they were all names that were prominent in the Twitter and social media space for NBA analytics and data visualization. And so like it really uncovered a lot of insights that again I didn't know were capable.
So first of all, I have to say great use of free time during COVID, helping your Python skills and also obviously this Twitter account.
It made it easier because the whole goal is around basketball. So
It's almost like it was a hobby in and of itself, right, for you maybe.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, and on the point of your analysis, right? How do you typically approach it? Like, is it sort of lighthearted? You're watching some games, taking some notes, or maybe reading articles and other opinion pieces. Like, how do you typically do it?
Yeah, it was a little bit of everything. I'd say it started out as from my own willing, so to speak, and also just because I didn't have I didn't know the resources to find other people's perspectives quite yet. So basically, I'd watch a game. I'd want to look into, for example, particular player stats, and so I'd go on the NBA site or find or some other outlets that I eventually discovered, and then basically as I'd be looking into one particular trend, I'd then fall into a loophole or like a rabbit hole, and then start an endless trail of just diving into different stats, trying to uncover trends. Again, I have like this vague idea in mind, something I uncovered from the game, and then try to follow that trail, which would lead me to other takeaways. Eventually, it started getting into a lot, so I started tracking my thoughts during games. So I'd have my notes app open, and as I was watching the game, I'd jot down any insights or things to look into further whenever I had the time. And then whenever I had that free time, I'd reference those notes, looking into trends, and then just sort of see what I could uncover.
Do you have any favorite or sort of memorable blog posts or Twitter interactions that you wanted to share?
So yeah, so the most memorable of those blog posts, I think I put together a sort of video and analytics blend article where I was breaking down how the Charlotte Hornets, an NBA team, how they offensive rebound, sort of breaking down the strategy of behind the scenes of why they do it and how efficient it's been. And then I was able to I just put it out there. I was able to get some traction. It was pretty cool. Start some conversations. And then like a while after, I was talking to a coach, and they were like, yeah, no, it was like I found out that they'd seen my article, and they'd even tried to implement, or they said that they were thinking about implementing that strategy with their own team, which I found crazy. Like obviously, like it's not like the strategy is mine. It's not, but just being able to put it out there, or give exposure to it, and then break it down in a way that it could be potentially replicated for a basketball team. Like I found that just really cool. And just getting positive feedback from people in basketball, it's always a sick feeling. So
Yeah.
that's what stands out.
So now, sort of shifting gears, but not really. More on your, the third endeavor of sort of sharing your perspective and stories with regards to basketball. So this is your role as a frequent co-host on the basketball podcast Beyond the Arc, which has been running for over 3 years now with over 70 episodes. You guys cover a lot of things related to basketball, like season previews, draft and trade analysis, game analysis, you name it. So talk about how this got started, right? I think this was when you maybe first came to Cal Poly,
Yeah.
or yeah. So just talk about the background behind it.
Yeah. So again, I mentioned before, like it's all connected. Like that Twitter, one of the biggest or the most rewarding things I've gotten out of being involved in the basketball social media space is being able to network and connect with the different people. And coincidentally, I was able to connect with a particular a user or an account who I eventually found out went to Cal Poly and became one of my good friends. Like his name is Matthew Ho, and he's doing great things in the basketball media space right now. But when we first started out, we were both just freshmen at Cal Poly. He was a journalism major, I was a comp sci major, but we both shared just the the passion and appreciation of the game. So we just started watching games together and really found that we thought of the game in I wouldn't say similar ways, but the sort of we had the same passion for the game and the same eye for insight and analysis. And so it was Matthew's idea, and it's his podcast. And so initially we started out. He started Beyond the Arc, and I'm grateful that he decided to have me as a co-host. And so whenever we could, especially early on, we just use that as an outlet to share our thoughts. And then, also he was on the media side, so it was a good opportunity. Or he was a journalism major and was trying to get breakthrough on the media side, so it was a good opportunity for him to get that experience of running a podcast, creating content, and then for me also just being able to articulate my thoughts and continue to expand my perspective on the game. It gave me a great reason to be involved. So we continue that from junior year, or sorry, from freshman year up to this point. I'd say lately we've slowed down in how often we put out episodes because we're both pretty busy. But it's always the same. Like the passion's always the same, and we always have a great time. Talking hoops. I mean, it's definitely given us a cool opportunity in different areas of the basketball space, and again, it's just a lot of fun doing it.
And like you said, it's all tied together, right? You started this Mathketball page posting your insights and whatnot, and then because of pure serendipity, you met someone at the same school with the same level of passion. That's awesome to hear, and how far you guys have come as well. Because I did see one, I think, a fairly recent Twitter post you had where you said you had your first D1 win as a video coordinator, and then I think Matthew was on an ESPN broadcast for the same game, right? So that's just like just amazing to see. You guys started your podcast together, and then like this very very big moment for both of you guys at the same time, same game. So
definitely, yes, we're both grateful of our journeys. We've come a long way, and we're still really good friends to this day. So yeah, absolutely, it's been great.
nice, man, nice. All right, so now let's see. I don't really have any other specific basketball question, but I want to sort of transition into these sort of general questions, I guess. The first one that I have, right, maybe for people who are watching as well. Obviously, lots of people are sports fans. Lots of people have their own takes on sports, but usually it stays within the house or within the dorm room, right? And for you, on the other hand, you took the step to publicly share your thoughts and publicly go on the a podcast as a co-host and whatnot, which obviously might not seem like a big deal to some, but I'm sure once you actually legitimately consider doing something like that, you might get pretty nervous, right? So for you, was there like any element of nerves there, or and anything to overcome there for you when you first started?
Yeah, is this just in like in my different roles in general, or in anything specific?
I guess like more on first with like Mathketball.
Mhm.
Yeah, first let's touch on that. Yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't say nerves because at least for that because I didn't go into it and by it I mean like starting a page, posting my thoughts. I didn't really go into that with a particular goal in mind. For me, it was just sharing my thoughts.
Mhm. I think specifically the thing that might make a lot of people nervous is, of course, there's the aspect of posting your insights and whatnot, but then also slapping your name and face behind it, right? That is the aspect I think that people would throw a lot of people, away from this.
Yeah, true. I mean, that's a good point. And I'd say for me, like I at least especially from the beginning, like I never or like for like I'd say it would have been more nerve wracking for me if I was posting like negative content out there. But for me, like that was never the deal. Like I was always just out there to share my positive takes. I was never trying to be critical of anybody. Even if it was players or teams, like maybe it was just like, oh, this team could improve in this way, this team could improve in that way. So obviously social media, Twitter especially, they're known for the chaos and the fires and the arguments they ensue. Thankfully, wasn't able to be a part to at least spark a lot of those because of my style of content. So in my case, at least, it wasn't as nerve wracking because I didn't feel like there was anything to hide with my social presence or anything. It was if anything, it just made sense for me to have a brand that tied to myself in that respect.
Mhm. How about any nerves? I know you sort of touched on this earlier when you're considering sacrifices that would be involved, but how about nerves before committing and diving 100% into your role in the basketball team?
Okay, see now that was tough. And yeah, like it was. Yeah, I don't even know how to describe it. It was definitely difficult. Like it was a lot of pondering, like going through different mental scenarios. A lot of self doubt involved. Like is this something that I could take on?
Mhm.
Because again, I didn't want to compromise anything, especially anything important. So yeah, there was a lot of self doubt, a lot of nerves involved, and even the experience itself, like whether that be being a manager or VC. It involved a lot of news or like what is it? A lot of new experiences. I'll phrase it that way. And there's always nerves attached to that. It's not something unique to basketball too. Like any new experience, any unfamiliar territory always brings on nerves. And so just attacking it with a sense of confidence, that was always the mentality. And it was also grateful to have great people and coaches, experienced people that could really help me out when I needed an outlet for that. So yeah,
Nice. Yeah, well, it's been awesome to see your journey by your side throughout college. I know personally for me, you've also been an inspiration to me to also, post my own YouTube content, put that stuff out there.
love it.
Well, thanks for coming on to the podcast. Appreciate you being on once again. I know I told you it wouldn't take super long, but it's nearly been an hour.
Nothing, man.
Time just flew by, so.
Yeah, it was a great it was a great conversation we were able to have, and again, I appreciate you having me on, especially as one of the first guests, and
I'm sure we'll look back at this as a historic episode of your podcast.
absolutely.